Okay, this is the Pint of No Return show for September 11th, episode 27-ish. I've completely screwed it up. Here we go.
I'd rather have lager than life. I'll take a strong stout over strife. I'd prefer to confer with a half pint of ale and live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail, so bring me lager for life. I'd rather have lager than life.
Good evening, morning, or afternoon, everybody out there, fellow beer lovers and trivia aficionados and inanity seekers. This is the Pint of No Return show, or as Keith likes to call it, the Pint of No Return show. We are on episode 27 of the new era, as defined by our Julian calendar. And we've been off for a few weeks. We took an extended Labor Day hiatus, but it's good to be back. And I know the guys, at least talking this afternoon, I'm thinking from what I was reading, basically salivating at their desks, waiting for beer.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Still salivating. Haven't had the beer.
waiting for beer.
How have you guys been, other than thirsty?
Been doing well.
Awesome.
Rested and relaxed.
Petaluma is a little scary lately.
Yeah, no
Are
kidding.
you feeling all right? I mean, there's murders in your town and beer spilling on your highways. What the hell is going on out there?
There was a murder in our town. This was the first one in, like, I don't know, a year or 2 years. And the beer was actually down south in Southern California. But it was Lagunitas beer, which is from Petaluma, so that was very sad.
An entire truck of Lagunitas beer spilled
Yes.
out over the wow.
San Gabriel Valley, which is Southern California. So. Anyway.
Just reminds me of that old picture I saw of like a Budweiser truck turning over, and it must have been in the South or something, and a couple of old hillbillies just standing by the side of the road with hats over their hearts and their heads bowed.
Yeah. This was like kegs, too. It wasn't just like bottles and cans. They were like broken open kegs, which breaking a keg open is pretty tough to do. I mean, this
That's
is
intense.
pretty strong.
Must have been a high-speed accident.
Yep.
So yeah, we're getting back into the swing of things, but before we get down into the beer and the fun and the chatter, we were talking about before the show how we would broach this. Thursday nights is our usual recording night, and today, Thursday, just also happens to be September 11th. And it's been 13 years since 2001. I'm sure you guys have all had updates from your friends on Facebook or on Twitter, or seen retrospectives on TV. So we didn't want to just let the show go by without at least acknowledging that we remember the losses that we had. We remember our first responders. We remember our soldiers and our leaders and all those kinds of things. And the thing that I remember about it the most, other than the tragedy, I was actually living with Keith at the time when all this happened. And the thing that I want to remember most fondly at the time was the month preceding the event, when pretty much everyone decided that we had much more in common than we didn't. And people were flying flags and were friendly and were looking out for each other, and suddenly parties and affiliations and all the old hang-ups that we used to have didn't seem to matter as much. And without getting too excessively corny, it's a fond memory of mine, and something that someday I hope we can go back to, although not under the same circumstances, of course. But I don't know if you guys wanted to offer any thoughts on 9/11, or just want to leave it at that.
I was just thinking a little bit today just about how much changed on that day. And I don't mean emotional and the best and all that. I'm thinking about the way we do things that changed, specifically airlines and stuff, and that how that's still having ripples and effects today, so far later. Their airlines had been changing security slowly for a long time, and then it was like it instantly got like where it needed to be really fast. right after 9/11. In fact, it probably went a little too far and then came back a little bit, but that's probably the way it should have gone. But yeah, you can't help but notice, for me anyway, for someone who went through it, every time you get on an airline flight or anytime you go into a government building and you see those metal detectors still that are still there and being operated and being manned, it just takes me back to that day right away. So I don't know. It's something worth still talking about occasionally, I think, and the anniversary is probably the best time.
And since we do technology on the show every so often, just how much technology has changed, and how much more dependent we are on instant communication and social media and things like Twitter and even Facebook and all that kind of stuff for instantaneous updates, real time, way faster than the news could ever report things. If you recall back on 9/11, there was so much that we didn't know even in the first 3 or 4 hours while things were happening. And I just for a second now, just try to imagine what it would have been like if something like that, God forbid, had happened in 2014 with all the technology and the Twitter and smartphones that we have now.
Oh yeah, that's
what that would have been like.
Just think back. It used to be that CNN was the best we had,
right.
Which is almost comical now.
Yeah.
I actually heard about 9/11 because I went to Yahoo's website, their news site, that morning while I was having breakfast, and I would never go to a Yahoo site now. I mean, look at that.
There you go.
I was actually out. I was out in Keith's warehouse counting pipes.
It sounds like
when first heard the news. It was horrible.
So
it was horrible. So anyway, like I said, we don't want to spend too much time on it, but thought we would at least acknowledge that it had happened, and we'll drink our beers today in memory of those folks. And thanks for everybody and everything that you guys continue to do for us, the military and police and fire and all that kind of stuff. So thanks, guys. Okay, on to the beers. We're continuing with our Saranac group, and Keith has, if you haven't been listening, graciously sent us a huge treasure trove of beers from New York, and we've been doing some Saranacs, and there have been some hits and misses from the Saranac folks. We learned before the show that Keith really wished he had sent us some of his favorites, and kind of we do too.
Yeah, the Saranac, what we're drinking is from their summer mix pack that you could have got around here in the Northeast. And so it's basically a bunch of specialty beers that they brewed just for summer, and most of them so far haven't been that great. So
it's kind of like the Sam Adams summer pack we did a while ago.
Yeah,
right.
I don't know what it is about summer beers and stuff. The breweries seem to go a little nuts.
Yeah.
And whether or not the beer is good, they seem to put it out anyway.
Yeah, I wonder if that's because it is a seasonal thing, and they don't really have the time, because of the nature of being a seasonal, the time to perfect it, like their regular lagers or their standard beers. It's just there's no time to kind of hone it in.
I'm sure that's some of it, but the other thing you got to remember too is you think of a summer seasonal. Well, they're brewing those now. They're brewing next summer seasons now, or at least getting ready to. The pumpkin ales and stuff that started coming out last month in August got brewed at late in May. So you try to figure out where they got fresh pumpkins then. So this whole seasonal beer thing, in my opinion, is a bit of a joke, especially when they're talking about using things that are fresh, like these hop harvest seasonals. Well, if you're getting a hop harvest seasonal during the hop harvest season, it's last year's hops. You're not getting fresh. So
that's a good point.
So I mean, it's something to think about. I'm generally not a huge fan of seasonals to begin with, but every now and then one of them hits me and strikes me well.
Right.
And I'm hoping that maybe tonight we can start with Cloud Splitter, and I will be amazed.
All right, so we've got we've got two beers tonight. We've got a Cloud Splitter Ale, and we've got a Kolsch.
So we're doing the Cloud Splitter first?
Kolsch German style.
Yeah, let's crack open the Cloud Splitter first.
Yes.
And then we'll finish. We'll
Like
clean it up
what?
with the Kolsch. Splitter.
Oh, okay. We've got wheat, malts, and oats for a hazy appearance, and citra hops, orange peel, and coriander. Ah, our old friend, the coriander. It's unfiltered, and it's 6% alcohol by volume.
Smells like red. Cloud splitter, right?
Cloud
Make
splitter.
sure I got the right one open.
Yeah, cloud splitter.
Okay.
It should be. I'm guessing it should be like a Belgian wit, or at least their homage
A
to it.
little like that, yeah.
So it's got that. You smell those citra hops right away, and the coriander. I get those two right away.
Yeah, I mean, it has a little citrusy kind of.
You can tell the coriander smell, folks, if you haven't had it, like in something like Blue Moon or something like that. It's got that almost like a celery seeds type of smell. Coriander is the seeds that eventually grow into cilantro.
Yeah, it's dried in cilantro seeds, which I don't like cilantro, let alone coriander.
Oh, love me some cilantro.
Great with Mexican food. Yeah, it's definitely unfiltered. I mean, you cannot see through that at all.
It's almost milky.
Yeah.
It's orange and solid. Yeah, it looks almost like an orange soda to me.
Yeah.
All right. We go on.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Wow. Prost.
Cheers. Well, that's not half bad.
It's got some kind of funky aftertaste, though. Are you getting an aftertaste?
No.
No? Maybe it's just mine.
Might be
Or
just
maybe it's just me.
Interesting.
I'm trying to detect a lot of flavor. I haven't got a lot of flavor yet.
Well, I'm getting it.
Something kind of weedy, and I can taste the orange peel.
Yep.
Once you get past the nose, the orange peel pops real big. But there's almost a bitterness from the orange peel, like you're getting the rind of the orange.
Yeah, more the pith.
The pith, exactly. Thank you. The pith of the orange is in the aftertaste, like you bit too far into your fresh orange.
I'm not a big. I've never been a big fan of the citra hops. I just don't. It tends to go too much towards the grapefruit. I just can't stand grapefruit. But I will tell you, with this cloud splitter, that citra hops really most of the time just kind of comes in and punches you right in the face when you get it. But I think what I'm having, at least in my beer, is the citra hops blending kind of nicely with the coriander, and kind of the orange peel just sitting over the whole thing, just kind of flavoring it all the way through. It's nice. It's a nice kind of horizontal, calm taste to it, and definitely, yeah, that weediness that kind of surrounds it, and it's really got some interesting layers to it. At least that's what I'm getting, and I kind of like it. I will say that, like most beers with coriander in it, I probably might like this with maybe an orange wedge in it, like just a little bit of juice, tiny bit of sweetness. That's really what makes a Blue Moon for me. But this is really nice. I like it for something that has citra hops in it. It's really quite tasty to me. And I will give this I'll give this an 8.
Wow.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm getting a lot of the same bitterness that Keith was getting. The more the inside of the orange peel flavor than the orange peel itself. Which maybe that's partly the hops they're using too. But I like the mouthfeel of it. It's got a nice crispness, and I really like the lingering bitterness. It's not IPA bitter, but it does have a nice kind of long bitter aftertaste. Not overwhelming, but enough that it hangs around, which I like. I'm going to give it a 7. I think it's a pretty good beer. I guess the hot weather we're having doesn't hurt either. It's a nice hot
Yeah.
weather beer.
It's pretty warm out this way.
Yeah, it's nice on the refreshing side.
It is refreshing, and that again could be the hot weather. I do like like Jeremy said, the texture of this beer. The flavors aren't very pronounced for me at all. What is the even style of ale with spices? So it's not even really any kind of defined style. I don't know. It's really got a lot of that wheat kind of characteristic to it for me. I don't know. To me, there's not a lot there, but there's nothing that's there is offensive. Which I guess isn't saying very much. But since it does have a little bitterness, it's definitely getting the better of the Saranac summer beers that we've had. The other ones all got fairly low ratings, but since this has a really good drinkability, I'll give it a 6. But flavor-wise, for me, I don't know if it's maybe the bottle I got or the travel or something. It's the flavors are there. They're really subtle. There's no flavor for me that's actually really pronounced, and I say, oh yeah, that's orange or that's coriander or that's anything. It's just sort of all kind of there. Nothing too big. So a 6.
Okay.
That leaves
Keith,
The big K.
you paid attention, Keith?
I really, really, really want to love this beer. It kind of reminds me right at the beginning of like a Hoegaarden, which is a kind of a classic mass-produced Belgian wit, kind of Blue Moon before there was Blue Moon. And it goes in nice. There's a good body to it. It has a nice mouthfeel. It goes down. It starts to feel nice and crisp, and then that pith hits it. And I'm just not liking that orange pith flavor that I'm getting in the middle of it. It's really kind of ruining the experience for me. So I would probably give it an 8 if I didn't have that, because it really is kind of almost hitting the spot. But every time I drink it, it gets to the back of my tongue, and that just sends up some kind of flag, and I just say no. So I would give it a 6 as well. I think it's of all the Saranacs, it's one that shows the most potential. I would like to see them tweak this and kind of put it in regular rotation, see if they can make it better.
The funny thing is, the farther I get into this, the more the coriander comes out. I don't know if that's because it's opening up or because it's getting a little warmer, or I'm just had more alcohol in my system. But it is getting a little better with time. So I think this is one of those, if you open it and let it sit for a few minutes, it might do a little better than drinking it really cold right out of the fridge and sucking it down too fast. So overall, we got a 6.75, which is the highest of the Saranacs so far. I think Beer Advocate gives it an 80, which is pretty generous. So, but Untapped was about a 3.5. So that's where Rob was, but Untapped was about a 3.5, which is
Well, that puts it out of a 7. That's
and we were at 6.75, so we're
pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close.
Not bad. Okay, well, yeah,
Not
good
terrible
effort.
beer.
I like that one the most so far.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
I really wanted to make like the ginger pale ale because that just sounds the best in title. But
I wanted
really,
to like that.
I know that's the one that had it just crushed me when it wasn't any good. I had my hopes up so high.
Something mildly evil in that beer.
That was vile.
I don't think there was anything mild about it.
Jeez.
Excuse me.
It is.
It's coming back to me.
The lowest rated beer we've ever had. So
That ginger one?
Yeah.
Yeah, the ginger one. It even was rated lower than the Blue Moon Harvest Pumpkin Ale.
Wow.
Yeah. That's saying something. That's an achievement just in itself right there. So
Well, and in an effort to get to our fall seasonals in time, we are doing, again, 2 beers tonight. So let's jump over to the Kolsch And maybe a nice simple Kolsch will clean up that pith that's in my mouth, and we can move on.
Okay, so I should continue to try to correct you on this. It's pronounced Kolsch. Kolsch.
Whatever, dude. I'm an American. I call it Kolsch. All right.
Our
And
German-
that's
our
as much
German-
as an accent you're gonna get.
Our German fans are going to be highly insulted.
We have any?
Whoa, my
Plural?
God!
I think I'm our
This-
German fan.
The Kolsch.
I could be. You know,
Yeah.
Hagenbart. It's German.
That's true.
This light-bodied blonde ale pays homage to a 1,000-year tradition rooted in Germany. Easy to drink, hard to forget. Let the journey begin. 5.0% alcohol by volume. And I will tell you that when I open this beer and take a smell, wow, it smells funky.
There's a sweetness going on here in the nose. It reminds me of like honey and flowers right off the bat. And
Yeah, I get that too. Honey.
So
and
I don't know.
blossoms.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, like
Kinda
honey
give me
blossom
like-
honey, yeah.
Dirty gym socks.
Ooh,
Yeah, exactly. You know what, Gary?
your dirty gym socks must smell fantastic to me.
That's it. You know, it's almost like a mold smell to me.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, it's really kind of odd.
It's definitely on the sweet side. It is clear, which is neat. After the
Yeah,
last
I mean,
one.
it's like
This is
completely
like
transparent.
yeah, it's definitely on the filter side. Also, note the amount of head I managed to get on this thing.
Mine had a head, and then it just went.
Aw.
It's gone. Just gone.
And smelling it out of the glass is not changing in my opinion. It's still very sweet, honey, flowery, or as Jeremy and Rob would say, moldy.
Yeah.
No, I think that smells pretty good. I'm not getting that weirdness.
Well, you
Yeah,
like
I don't-
mold.
well, it's. I'm not smelling the mold either, but I am suspicious of the sweetness I smell. Only because
Perhaps-
I don't think there should be in the Kolsch. There should
Perhaps-
have sweetness.
Mold might be too strong.
It's not mold. It's
It's
more
a-
like
it's like
just
a-
damp.
It's
Just
like a
damp.
It's a funk.
Wet.
It
It is
smells
a beer.
funky.
It's a beer. It is.
All right, let's try this.
Wet.
Let's see if I can get it down. All right, Prost.
See if I can get it down. That's the most optimistic phrase ever.
Yeah, that sweetness is there in the.
Cool. Mm. It's right up front too, on the tip of your tongue, right behind your teeth.
Well, that's a weird flavor.
Yeah. It's almost too sweet that it's making my teeth hurt. Like I've had too much sugar.
Really?
Yeah.
It kind of
Kind of that buzzing feeling behind my front teeth.
it almost tastes like a sparkling apple cider that's gone a little bad.
You might have got a bad.
Apparently, because this ain't good. So, I mean, I'll go with
getting
whatever
the
you get.
texture of what you're talking about. I'm not getting the flavor of what you're talking about.
Maybe
it
not so
definitely
much
feels-
the apple.
Yeah, it definitely has the mouthfeel of an apple cider because it's a little bit watery
Yeah.
and the bowls are small and a lot of space in between them. So I can kind of see the cider in the texture, but I'm not really getting it on the flavor.
No, it's more of a texture thing, and the taste is that of something that
You know what? It tastes like
it's sitting out too long.
it tastes like a really weak mead.
Maybe that's yeah.
Weak's a good word.
Yeah.
It's like a honey mead that is missing most of the body that's supposed to be there.
There is not
I don't
much
know.
body.
This tastes like
There's
mass
no
market
body in
brewing.
this.
to
Yeah.
me.
This
Tastes
is a
like what?
mass market brewing.
Yeah.
This is a 2 for me.
All right.
Just unappealing.
Just unappealing, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I'll go
Yeah,
next.
yeah,
My
go ahead,
thoughts in order. It's The mouthfeel is weak and watery. The nose is possibly offensive to some. The drinkability is okay, but mostly because it has the same drinkability as water.
No.
But there's no body to it at all. It really kind of disappears. I'm kind of stuck on. I've had some really good homebrew honey meads, which have been amazing, but they're thick and they're full of body, and they're not something you drink when you're thirsty. This tastes like something someone tried to take the honey mead flavor and make it thirst quenching by watering it the shit down, and that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah, no, I agree. Two's a good number for this. Two's a generous number.
Really? Oh, I pegged you at a 3, but I guess I was wrong.
Haha. See, I can't be pegged.
Yeah, right out of the bottle, it did have kind of a sweet nose, like a mead would have, almost honey, jasmine. But I'm not getting any of those flavors. And Kolsch should have a nice, clean, refreshing flavor. This does not have that. There's something a little off in it. Flavors are a little off-putting. The more I drink it, the less I want to drink another ounce of it.
It's really watery
thin.
as you get going.
Yeah, not the worst beer on the planet, but that's a 2. I given this and the GPA, I think I'd drink a Bud.
We're gonna drive Jeremy to Budweiser.
So a 2?
A 2, yeah.
Got 3 2s across the board.
It's unpleasant.
Barry, can you save it? Can you save this beer? Can you find anything redeeming in this beer?
Oh, look, that beer was so bad it froze Gary.
Yeah.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah.
Am I still frozen?
No, you're okay now.
Okay, good. So it pays homage to the 1,000-year tradition of German brewing. I think the Germans would be incredibly insulted by that statement if they were to see this. And even putting German-style ale on the bottle is probably not very nice.
Not that Germans aren't always insulted a little bit by something.
I don't know. There are some kind of appley, fruity kind of aromas in there. It is not entirely offensive. There is a little bit of kind of funky, weird bitterness as an aftertaste. That was an awesome face, Jeremy. I'm not going to go as low as the ginger pale ale. I will give it a 3, only because it does actually have beer tasting qualities in it. The ginger pale ale, like we said, was vile. So I'm gonna give it a 3 because it looks like beer, it acts like beer, but like I said, it looks and acts like a mass market beer. So it's not, I don't know, it's not horrible.
All right, so gentlemen, hold your bottles up to your cameras for a second,
or the glasses.
The bottles, so you can see the label, and we're gonna do a public shaming of this beer. Ready?
For shame, Kolsch.
Well, there we go.
All right.
I like that one.
So we rounded out at a 2.25.
So that's 1 for 4 for the Saranac brews.
Yeah. It got the Beer Advocate scores a 74. The Bros gave it a 69. So they were being incredibly generous. I haven't looked up Untapped. I tend to trust Untapped a little bit more than.
Yeah. I'm wondering if this, because it's a seasonal, if it varies that much year to year, and we just got a bad year here.
Yeah.
It's possible. I honestly haven't paid that close attention to their seasonals. I don't know if these are all one-offs or if they do redo them every year. If they're redoing them every year, boy, they're not getting any better, are they?
So we'll leave that up to you.
Or maybe they are.
To try next year.
Yeah, I guess maybe I will have to look at them.
We're gonna trust your judgment, and you can try them next summer. You don't have to send them to us.
Don't send them. Bastard.
It's about a 3 out of 5 on Untapped. So.
Yeah, that's generous, I think.
I think
Yeah.
that's generous too.
That's like a 6, and we gave it a total of like a 2.
Yeah,
So
should be showing a 1 on Untapped.
well, if
That's
we
for
all
all
check
market
in,
later.
yeah. All right, we'll do that. Okay, so that rounds about. And I do have a makeup beer. It's getting quite warm now. Cruiser, the Berliner Weiss from Ithaca. Should I drink that?
Oh, you've not reviewed that yet, right?
I have not. Why don't we move on, and then I'll do my review after I somehow manage to get this down.
Yeah, you're gonna want to clear and almost. You might want to even rinse that glass out before you have it.
Yeah.
Was that the cruiser?
Different flavor.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
the
got the cruiser, which he hasn't heard our reviews on it yet either. So
I have not. I haven't
he
listened to
skipped
that show. So
All right, yeah, do it as you drink it as we talk about the other stuff, and then give us a review at the end.
Yeah.
all right, I'll do it.
All right, so 2 days ago, on Tuesday the 9th, Apple did its lovely annual or biannual or every 2 weeks. I can't follow them, their schedule.
Whenever that's
Annual iPhone events.
Thank you. They had an annual iPhone event. And this one, like all the others, was met with a lot of buzz and hullabaloo, and not the least of which had to deal with the connectivity to the live stream for the event. Keith was basically flaming out on our message rooms about not being able to connect to the thing, and I know a lot of bloggers were ticked off that was not available as well. Keith, what happened?
Well, I did rearrange my day so that I could watch that thing live, and was immensely disappointed. It was a comedy of errors actually on so many levels that I think people lost their jobs inside of Apple. That contractor who was doing the streaming will probably never find work again. I mean, when it gets so bad that Denny's is mocking you on Twitter, you know it's bad because Denny's put up their specials menu over the screen, the color bar screen from the TV truck that was broadcasting everything.
That's pretty funny.
And it was pretty hysterical.
So was it just a colossal screw up, or was it too many people crashing the site, or?
I've read a lot of stuff, and the first thought was, yeah, too many people are trying to watch. It's just way too popular. But there was a number of other people who said there was certain code on the Apple homepage that was causing it to force refreshes where it shouldn't have been. So Apple's was to blame, and the fact that there wasn't a redundant system in place to fail over to with another content provider was to blame, and but the internal problems with you getting a Mandarin Chinese translation over the first half of the event too was
that didn't work
on the inside. Somebody definitely plugged a wire into the wrong port on the inside, where you must assume that it was probably Apple or some internal contractor doing it.
Yeah, word is the Chinese scooped everybody. They just got everything out quickly.
They possibly did because they were the only ones to understand what was going on.
Well, since they make the phones, they should be the first to get all the information on it.
That's true. I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
If Apple likes to brag about how they have like 500 million iTunes accounts, right, or something like that, Jeremy's trying to rinse that taste out of his mouth.
It's coming with a torpedo. Nice. That'll take care of it.
How? If they assume that they have hundreds of millions of people that are using their products and that are their fans, how can they not plan an event for, I don't know, let's say tens of millions of people that are going to watch it?
Well, I think the problem is they outsourced it. If they had used the same people who do, the iTunes Festival, which comes off flawlessly with thousands and thousands of people tuning in and out of it all day long for a week at a time, they probably would have been fine. But they apparently hired some other company to do it that was running everything out of a van down by the river, and There was
The river's a
the
good
van
place
could
because
not
the
handle
waves
it.
are high.
Yeah.
Well, aside from the technical difficulties, we got a couple of, or a few big takeaways. The first of which being the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus. Now,
They need
on first sight, what you've got here is a much bigger iPhone, significantly bigger, going towards like the Samsung Galaxy size phones. So,
I'd say more like going toward the iMac.
yeah, right. So, what are the key features, Keith? What were the key features of the iPhone 6 other than the size?
Well, it's pretty incremental stuff for Apple. There isn't a whole lot of takeaway on the hardware. They've upgraded the camera with new camera sensors to do much faster autofocusing. That's really cool. New lenses on the cameras, stuff like that is really good. On the Plus, you get optical image stabilization instead of digital, which is really nice. But you only get that on the Plus. You don't get that on the regular 6. Of course, they're much faster, and I think on the Plus you're also getting full true 1080p playback for videos and stuff now because the pixels can support it. There's that many of them crammed in their Retina display. Interestingly, though, they drop a few things from the 6 Plus to the 6. So I don't know if they I don't know if they're dropping it or they're adding it. It's kind of a weird, interesting way to look at it. The 6 Plus has a few extra features that the 6 does not have, including a huge battery life difference. The 6 Plus, just in size alone, probably just can accommodate much more battery. So I think, for me, who uses his iPhone 5 with a battery case on it at all times, the 6 Plus is probably the device to go with. Although I have big hands and that doesn't bother me. We can cut now to the opposing position from the 36-year-old curmudgeon, Jeremy, who prefers his screens.
Awesome.
Prefers his cell phone screens to be about a postage stamp size, like the old flip phone, and anything bigger than that.
He wants to go back to Motorola.
The iPhone 4S was the best screen size they made ever. That was for my little girl hands. That was
his
perfect
California
screens.
West Coast girly hands.
iPhone 4S.
So here is, my wife decided she wants the Plus, and she ordered a case for it. Here is the case. Sorry, you can't see my face anymore. It's obscured.
That is just gigantic.
And here is the case compared to the 5S. I need to move back.
That's the 5, and the 5 is the elongated one
Right.
over the 4.
Right.
That
Right,
is
that's
just massive. All right, so
It
Jeremy, give us
sizing.
give us another indication of the sizing. Put that little case up to your ear as if you were talking on the phone. It just takes up his whole cheek.
You need to move it back and forth.
I thought everybody used that.
But listen,
So
I mean that's not anything new that we haven't seen with the Galaxy. I mean the Galaxy's huge.
But you know what's interesting is Apple always
the
said,
Galaxy Note series is even bigger, I think.
Oh yeah,
and
Yeah.
Apple always said, we want you to be able to use the phone with one hand. That was a big thing.
right.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, they publicly acknowledged that their phones are now too big because they've added a hardware feature where a double tap of the home button will slide the screen down so you can reach it.
Yeah.
That might
They
be
have-
the most
they have-
comical thing about the whole thing.
They have done several UI tricks in the thing to make the thing still usable in one hand, including I saw on the messaging app. There's a little scroll wheel in the corner for scrolling your messages up and down, so you don't have to move your finger up and down the whole length of the screen if you're trying to use it one-handed.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's comical or genius. I guess if it works, then it's a genius. The time it's going to be really comical, really fast, and I am nervous about using software to try to take over where size used to matter.
So the moral of the story is make sure you have the Apple Care on your iPhone 6 because for those of you with smaller hands, if you try to use it one-handed, you're going to be dropping your phone
You're
a lot.
doomed.
Well, the thing is,
that's
too,
the plus,
the,
right?
the five
That's the plus.
the 5 to the 6. I did some cutouts, and I didn't bring them home because I'm a little bit of a moron that way. But I did some cutouts in the office the other day to see what the sizes of them were. And the 5 to the 6, not the 6 Plus, if you're using a battery case, which is only a little bit longer, you can see where it's a little longer than the 5, and just a little bit wider, just paper thin wider. The 5 to the 6, if you're using a battery case, is negligible.
You know, they say I have
you have one too. Okay, so you got like a Mophie
well,
or something.
I have an iPhone. I have an iPhone 4S, and I have a Mophie for it. And what I've heard before is that the size of the Mophie is the length of the Mophie is roughly the same size as the iPhone 5S.
Right.
So
the 5 and the 5S are about
so here's a 4 and a 5, like a 5S.
Right, that's about right. Yeah, I would say that. And then again, if you take a 5 and put that on it, then you're at the 6.
Right.
So really, the size increase is not much. The width doesn't change a whole lot. It's really in the millimeter range. The height changes a little bit, but when you go to the 6 Plus, then it does get pretty significantly bigger, as you could see. However, I was still able to hold my piece of cardboard pretty comfortably in my right hand.
That's because it weighed as much as cardboard.
Well, I don't know, because the 6 and the 6 Plus are lighter.
The 6 Plus almost the 6 Plus almost seems to me to be midway between an iPhone 5 and an iPad Mini.
Yes.
Well, and that's what I thought too, because that's what I really wanted to do. Is I wanted to put the 6 Plus up against the Mini, this is my daily driver as my computer, not just my tablet of choice. It's really my computer. For all my personal stuff, 99% of it is done on my iPad. I really only bust out this computer down here for this podcast or for occasional gaming. Very rarely anymore am I even doing photo processing on it. I'm doing all of it on my iPad Mini. So I wanted to put that out there and say, okay, is this going to negate the need for my iPad Mini? And no, it doesn't. It's still less than half the size of an iPad Mini when you fill it out. It's maybe 3/4 the height, but it's less than half the width.
Okay.
So it's not really a game changer there. Although, honestly, I kind of think, looking forward to my own use case right now, I'm using an iPhone 5 and an iPad Mini, and that's my ideal combo. I can see that maybe changing to a 6 Plus and possibly just the watch. If the 6 Plus can do what my iPad can do, and I don't have problems seeing it, which will have to be seen. I don't know.
So that what?
Whoa! Everybody.
So did you win a lottery to buy a new iPhone and a new iWatch?
I haven't bought either of them yet, and so no, I haven't won any lottery yet.
So let me set that up. The second big piece, and probably one of the more hotly talked about topics from the Apple event, is the iWatch. Now again,
it's actually the Apple Watch.
Sorry,
iWatch.
Someone just said iWatch, so I took it from you.
And you listen to me.
Don't blame me. All right, so the Apple Watch, again, kind of taking from, I shouldn't say maybe taking from, but at least coming in second after Samsung, which has their own watch version that pairs with their Galaxy. The Apple Watch come out, and so what are the big features of the Apple Watch, Keith?
The Apple Watch is an interesting bag of tricks right now, and I really want to see it properly reviewed before I make any judgments myself. But interestingly enough, I posted on Technology Viewer, my tech blog site, this morning, and then I put a link in our chat room, of an actual jewelry watch guy reviewing the Apple Watch. So one of the things he said, and yes, I see you in the chat, Gary. One of the things he said is there is nothing to compare to this watch. Now, he didn't review the internals at all. He just reviewed the fit and finish of the watch. And he says there's nothing that compares to it in quality in this price range out there at all. He says at $350, there's nothing nicer, better designed, fit and finish looking watch than the Apple iWatch, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, I will say that we haven't seen anything like that in a long time, because from my first glance, when the watch is off and not on and you can see the screens and the icons and the apps and stuff, it does really closely resemble a Casio watch from 1988. A nice big calculator watch that you had. I had one, and it was marvelous. It was really, really pretty, and you could do so many things. You could like store phone numbers on it, and it was really neat. But I mean, it's probably just a little bit different. What are the features of the Apple Watch, Keith?
Well, the Apple Watch can do a lot. Now, this is coming from an avid user of the Pebble, which is one of the first smartwatches, and I still use mine every day. And so it can do everything the Pebble can do right out of the box. It'll show you your text messages as you get them. It'll show you your email messages as you get them. What it does better, though, is the two-way communication between the watch and the phone, so that it will interpret questions sent to you via text and pop up a series of potential answers that you can just tap and answer a question. So if someone sends you, hey, what do you want for dinner tonight, chicken or fish, it'll pop up the answers on the watch, chicken or fish, and you can just touch one or the other, chicken button or fish button, and respond to your text that way. That's something the Pebble can't do. I can read all my notifications on my Pebble. I can't respond to any of them. This will allow true two-way communications from the watch to the phone, so not only can you see what's going on while you're driving or in another position where you can't take your phone out of your pocket, but you can actually deal with it, which is kind of nice right off the bat. The fact that it can run a myriad of apps right off the bat, including some really highly graphical intensive apps, is pretty impressive and kind of shows where it can go. But I kind of view this as a first-generation Apple product. So a lot of people are dogging it right now, but a lot of people dogged the first iPad. They said, oh, it's just a big iPod. That's all it is. But I had a first-generation iPad. I know you did, Rob. I think Gary and Jeremy both did. I'm not sure.
No, did not.
But Jeremy did. So, I mean, 3 of the 4 of us had a first-generation iPod. You can compare it to the first-generation MacBook Air, which was woefully underpowered and overpriced. Still, it sold well enough that they continued with the thought, and a few years later they came out with what is now the go-to laptop in the Apple line, the MacBook Air. So yeah, is it going to get better? Hell yeah. Do I want to support it and maybe get one now and use what functionality is there, knowing that it's going to get better? I kind of do. And the $350 price point as a starting point doesn't really scare me, because, yeah, that's a big chunk of change, but you know what? I own a Pebble, which is now being sold at Best Buy for about $150, and I own a Misfit Shine for my health tracking, which goes for about $120 online. So you combine those two, and I'm about $60 away from an iWatch, and oh yeah, the iWatch has two-way communication, a full high-res screen, and a whole bunch of other features that I would pay extra for on either of these.
Keith, I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's Apple Watch.
Apple Watch, yes, you're right. But anyway. Touche. But, it's really not priced out of range for the functionality I've already paid for.
And it should be noted that these things are included on it, right? I mean, it's got that heart monitor and step tracker. And
we haven't even talked about all that. I mean, it does way more than what my Shine does, which is just a glorified pedometer. All this other health stuff is just the beginning of what's going to be available on there. And we haven't even touched on the Apple Pay system yet, which is
that's next.
Which is in the phone, but also in the watch.
Okay.
So in a really pretty innovative security system.
Gary has comments.
And I'm going to keep them brief because we are going to run out of time. One is that Apple Pay is a good thing because you have to pay to get this watch. I think that they Apple made the Apple Watch out of pressure for two reasons. One, because there were all these other wearable technologies out there, Fitbits, Nike's doing stuff. I mean, everybody's got some sort of fitness device, and the Pebbles out there, and there's been other smartwatches that have been coming out. They were feeling competitive pressure.
I thought it was
Two,
Samsung, yeah.
Yeah. Two, they had to come up with something because the iPhone 6s are going to be so big that no one's going to want to have to pull them out of their pocket or briefcase or purse to access them. They needed another interface.
No,
so they
that's
created
actually
the iWatch to be the interface to your phone because your phone's too big to actually use now.
I think there's actually some truth in that.
Yeah.
As much as I want to dog you for saying that it's too heavy and too big to bring out of your pocket, it is a bigger phone, and it is going to be harder to get out of your pocket when you're sitting down somewhere. So having an interface where you don't have to grab it all the time is actually a fairly good idea.
As such, $350 is a lot for a phone add-on.
Right.
I'm done.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is, but when you look at it as also a piece of jewelry that is a bargain for
My
its
wife
fit
would
and
rather have
finish.
diamonds. Sorry.
All right, so
I don't know.
moving on
I
really
could talk your
quickly.
wife into an iWatch.
I doubt
Really
it.
quickly, because I know Gary is the time Nazi.
It was $350 worth of diamond. They could
The
cut it
third
there.
big piece from the Apple event is the new operating system, iOS 8, and what is, if anything, I knew that Apple Pay was probably the most talked about part of the iOS 8 portion.
That's actually part of the hardware.
Yeah, it's actually more of a hardware thing than.
Okay. All right. So then, what are the big features? What are the big features of the iOS 8, if anything? And if there's not, then we'll just talk about the Apple Pay because that was a big topic.
iOS 8's got a bunch of new stuff, and Android fanboys will be quick to tell you that it's all stuff that's been on Android for a while. But I always remind them that their original Android system was a copy of Apple's to begin with. So, it's really a throwback. We learn from each other. And as a consumer, I'm okay with that. But it's going to offer you third-party keyboards. Finally, it's going to offer you some widget functionality. Finally, it's going to offer you a lot of other things that probably should have been in 7. I think 7 was probably the biggest disappointment in an Apple operating system upgrade in a long time, and I kind of view this iOS 8 as 7.1 because it's 7 what it should have been.
Okay. So then let me shift gears really quickly then and talk about the Apple Pay because that was a really big topic following the event. Now Apple Pay is a hardware add-on, you're saying, to the phone that will allow you to, from what I understand, enter in your credit cards, ATM cards, courtesy cards you have with different stores, Best Buy, and all those kinds of supermarket things, all that stuff, allow you to enter it into your phone so that the data is stored there or on the cloud, I'm not sure, and then you can use it to pay for items or get your courtesy discounts or whatever through the use of a thumbprint. Is that right?
Well, the Passbook, which has been out for a while now, allows you to do the courtesy card thing. So that's really not new. What's new about this is credit card transactions and secure credit card transactions. So it's really about you basically have your credit card information entered into the phone, either through the Apple, through iTunes. It'll let out of the bat. It only works on the 6s, by the way. This isn't backwards compatible to any other device. So you're going to use your 6 or your 6 Plus for this. You're gonna use your iTunes card that's tied to Apple already, or you're gonna enter new ones either by photographing or manually entering them. And then what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to do a secure payment from your phone or from the watch using just near-field communication, which means any of those devices out there that are tap to pay, you're basically going to be able to wave your phone over to make your payment.
I thought I had heard that part of it was going to have to be a thumbprint.
Well, that's how you authenticate it. When you're using the phone, you use the thumbprint ID to authenticate that it's you.
Right. So if someone
Using
has
the
your
phone
phone,
to pay.
they can't
Right.
use Apple
That's
Pay.
right.
Right.
The way they do it on the watch, which didn't come out in the keynote but came out afterwards, which is actually really interesting, is you authenticate the watch from the phone with your thumbprint. and the watch holds that authentication until it loses contact with your skin. So if you ever take the watch off to hand it to someone else, they can't use it to pay anymore.
Interesting.
That's a good solution.
So it's actually a really tight solution. It's really secure. They have that new chip in there that basically secures it by scrambling not only the payment information but also a separately generated one-time code, so that even if you do pay for something, there's no way the cashier can get a hold of that information and then use it to bill more stuff out or anything like that.
Well, at least it'll give the hacker something to do.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's basically got built-in two-step authentication for all your payments, because you're going to have the phone and you're going to have to be yourself, because you're going to have to be authorized to use the thumbprint reader.
Interesting. All right, so Gary is chomping at the bit because he drank a third beer to kind of catch up tonight with a beer we had done previously. Gary, what did you drink?
I've had too many beers to be chomping at anything.
He's kind of drooling at the bit.
I keep drinking the Kolsch because it's sitting here, and this is making me mad now.
I had the Ithaca Cruiser, which is the Berliner style Weiss ale, and no one's going to correct me on that.
We'll let you go.
Okay. After having the Kolsch and the Cloud Splitter, what I really like about this beer is that it has flavor. Which is a good thing to have in a beer. It actually really tastes like apple cider to me, though. I mean, it's got a really, really strong apple-y, cidery kind of taste.
I think that's one of the things we said, yeah.
Yeah, I think you picked up on that, Rob.
Yeah, Rob picked up on that. It's a sour, so right off the bat, it's supposed to be really tart, kind of like an apple cider.
Yeah,
Jeremy and I didn't pick up on the apple so much, but...
Yeah, it's definitely got that tartness to it, and it's got a really, really, really clean finish. It's a good flavor. It's a good beer, so I'm gonna give it a 7 because it is. It's interesting. And one thing that I like to have in beers is something that is not boring, and this is not a boring beer. It's got some nice flavors that are not just here's a bunch of hops thrown at you. They actually took their time and. I'm assuming they took the time, and came up with some good flavoring on this beer. So it worked out really well. I'm going to give it a 7.
Okay.
Well, I think of the two beers that I sent you guys out, the Saranacs and the Ithacas, I think the Ithacas is definitely the better choice so far, and I think we'll take a break from the Saranac.
Ithaca better than Saranac. So.
Yeah, well, we're going to take a break, and next week I think we'll...
And that was a popular beer. I think between us, looking back, I gave it a 9, Keith gave it a 9, and Rob gave it a 7. So we did like that beer.
Yeah. So we should probably do the Ithaca Cascazilla and the Apricot Wheat next week, which will be, I think those will both be pleasing beers for you guys.
Okay. All right, so we're closing in on our witching hour. Let's see how quickly we can rifle through our half pints.
All right.
Our quick picks. Gary, you go first.
Man, really? I gotta. Okay, I'll do it. I'm getting it.
Gary wants to talk about the H2 No waterproof cell phone bag, but since he wasn't ready, Jeremy wants to talk about a burrito, America's best burrito.
I'm ready.
So, okay, go ahead, Gary.
So this is my pick. Can you see that? It's actually a little dry bag for your phone.
Yeah.
And it's actually very cool. I got 2 of these bags that will fit maybe a 6, not a 6 Plus iPhone. I got 2 of these bags for like $15 on Amazon, and took them on vacation. We went camping up in Oregon, and my kids absolutely loved them. My daughter took her iPhone 5C out into the lake on the paddleboard, and they did all kinds of photos and videos, and they just had a blast using it. It's not, I mean, you can't go diving with this, obviously. It's just a little bag, but it does the job of, your kids are just at the beach playing around, or maybe you're kayaking or something like that. It'll protect your phone. It did a great job. She used it without fail. There was one time a little moisture got in there, but it was because she didn't make sure it was properly sealed. You really got to make sure these clasps go. But great product, $15 for 2 of them. And I mean, even as a throwaway item for vacation, it was great. I remember back to when we had to buy those like underwater cameras that still use 35mm film, and you could never focus them or do anything with them. So for the price, less than the price of that, you can get a case for your phone.
Here's a waterproof case for my camera.
Yeah.
Right here. A friend of mine have this, and they took it on the river when we went 2 weeks ago. And I don't know if yours has the same thing. I couldn't see it. But when you put it in, it's actually got a headphone jack port.
No,
that you can. Yeah, this must be maybe the next step up. You can actually clip it. It's on the inside of the bag, an actual jack that you can put into the headphone jack, and there's a waterproof connection right there, and on the outside there's a cord coming out in case you wanted to hook it up to some speakers at the pool or whatever. So yeah, those are pretty cool.
This is just kind of, I mean, it is actually cheap plastic, and it does have a little see-through mirror, so you can use the front camera or the back cameras because it's got the plastic on the back, and it's got a handy-dandy thermometer, so you can see what temperature the water is.
Yeah, very cool.
Oh, cool.
All right, Jeremy, now your burrito.
So 538.com has, and if you don't know this, San Francisco kind of has an aggressive burrito culture.
To say the least.
So 538.com has tried many burritos all across the country, and if you look at the link, you'll see this disgusting photograph of all of their vivisected burritos, showing that it's basically a burrito autopsy. And they decided that a San Francisco restaurant.
Well, that's disgusting.
Yeah, a San Francisco restaurant called La Taqueria makes the best burrito in America. Now they make pretty good burritos. I don't think it's the best I've ever had, but it's not a bad choice, and it's nice that it's kind of a hometown winner here. So it's a good reason to go out and have your favorite burrito tonight in honor of America's best burrito being named.
These pictures are delicious and disturbing at the same time. It's like a burrito autopsy.
You can't look away, though.
No.
Making me hungry.
Pretty funny. All right. Keith, what's your pick for this evening?
I've been playing around with another camera app thingy, as I am wont to do. This one's called Mission Pick, and it's kind of a similar idea to an app I've talked about before, and a website that both Gary and Jeremy are in. Every day they give you a topic, and you go out and take that picture, or several of them, that fit that topic, and then other people on the site rate your picture up or down based on how good they thought it was for whatever reason. It's pretty simple. It just came out. It's fairly straightforward. I kind of been playing around with it. I don't know as I'm making it a recommendation yet. It's interesting enough to look at, and it's free, and there's no ads on it, so it's worth kind of playing around with for now and seeing if it's something you want to do long term. I definitely don't do it every day, but I do check on it a few times a week, and if it's something I think I can get a good picture of, I will submit it. And I've had a couple highly ranked ones up there. It looks roughly like this, if you can see it. Pretty straightforward app. Mission Pick, you can take a picture from within the app, or you can take a highly edited picture from elsewhere in your camera roll and upload it. So either way works pretty good. But anyway, that's my pick for the week. Just check it out and let me know what you think of it, because like I said, I haven't fully vetted it yet. I'm just starting to play with it. It's really good. The other one I'm really enjoying right now is Instagram's Hyperlapse, which is just fun if you haven't seen that. Also free. It basically takes a video you do and compresses it down so that everything looks like it's happening really fast, which is kind of fun. That's where I am.
Okay, my pick for the week is a iOS app and a card game beside. It's called Star Realms. I've mentioned this to Keith a little bit later last week. If you're not familiar with the concept of a deck builder game, basically what you have a core set of 5 or 10 cards and between the two players, and there's a set of common cards in between you, and you have cards that can basically buy other cards and cards that you can use to attack the other player. And you basically buy the cards that from the center, and they're replaced, and basically you build a deck to take on your opponent right there at the table. It's really really easy to learn, really quick to play. There's some interesting combos because if you pick cards from the same alliance, there's like 4 different colors that represent different alliances, and if you can play 2 cards of the same alliance, sometimes they'll have abilities that bounce off of each other. And you have bases that can defend you from attacks and bases that give you extra stuff. And it's really cool, quick, and easy to learn and fun to play. It's got a nice little campaign that takes you through various stages and different kind of variations on the card game. And it features live and asynchronous play on their app. So Star Realms is a very, very fun game, and I recommend that you try it.
Cool. Thank you.
And I think that's probably going to do it for episode 27 of the Pint of No Return Show. Next week, conclude our Saranac beers. And
Now we're switching to Ithaca.
Next week, we switch to Ithaca and see what other kind of trouble we get into. And next week, we're going to call it the iWatch, and it's going to be the Pint of No Return Show, and we'll see what else we can screw up. And Poxy Boggarts, thanks for the use of your music. Enjoy your beer.